Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we start Mark Martin's Revenge Tour, and tonight we have a premiere of NASCAR 07 on the channel. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Another NASCAR Classic game playthrough, and today we start off with probably my second favorite and most played NASCAR game growing up as a kid, NASCAR 07. Reason why this one was most played, I had the PSP version of this game, so I took it everywhere I went, whether it was school, playing it if I got my lunch done, got done with my lunch early, I would play NASCAR 07 and etc. games for my PSP at lunch break. Back in my recess days in elementary school, if we were snowed in or rained in, I would have my PSP handy that I could play while we were inside as well. So I definitely played this game a ton growing up. Have never played it though on the PS2 until just a little bit ago during the NASCAR 07 dual race at Daytona. Ended up finishing second in that one to Kevin Harvick. He's looking very fast. He may win this 2006 Daytona 500. We'll have to wait and see. This is the last season for Mark Martin for Roush Fenway Racing, and we're going to try to win the Daytona 500 with him here today. Something I have not been able to do as well on a NASCAR EA Sports video game. 0 for 6 so far in the Daytona 500. In fact, it took us 15 attempts just to win a points race at Daytona. And in fact, the last points race was the 15th attempt in which we were able to get a win in the Pepsi 400 on NASCAR 05. So we will see if I can win the Daytona 500 here tonight. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, live race commentary streams, of course, tomorrow. That is posted at the top of the screen because there's no point standings to go through with this being the first race of the season. Hopefully you guys enjoy this 200 lap, 500 mile extravaganza, and we will see who is going to win this race. Green flag is in the air. Michael Waltrip will lead the field to the green of the Daytona 500, and we are racing. Try to mess with the gears a little bit. See if that will help Martin on the restarts. And I actually got to third gear a lot quicker than what I was expecting to, which could be not so good for Mark Martin here in the early going. Michael Waltrip out ahead, all clear off turn 2. Looked like Harvick got into second immediately on Jimmy Johnson also. So making the gearing switch to try to help with the restarts did not work, which is going to be very vital. That means the more cautions we get in this race, the worse for ourselves, because Mark Martin does not take off well in the restarts. Having to defend in the 6th place starting spot, which is where he runs currently. And Kevin Harvick will lead lap 1 as he was able to get back by Michael Waltrip. Here we go. Robbie Gordon bounced off the outside wall getting into the first turn. Martin to the outside in turns 1 and 2. Gonna try to let Dale Earnhardt Jr. go underneath of him. Kyle Busch going with the 8 for Hendrick Motorsports. Martin side drafts Busch on the backstretch. Drafts in line behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. And he'll stay in line behind him going into turn 3. Single file line up inside the top 6, and everybody outside the top 10 faded way back. Look at how far back that second pack is from the lead pack. As Martin scrapes the wall that time off turn 4. Keeps his foot in it though. Drives out of it. It's okay. Luckily he still had the 5 car clear. He's only 1.4 seconds off the lead. It's not terrible. Robbie Gordon into the wall just up ahead. I think Dale Jr. might have checked up, and Martin had to check up to keep it off the 8 car in the center of the corner. Jr. got a big pull on Robbie. Robbie with a block on Dale Jr. Martin going to go to the inside of the 8. May stay underneath the 7 of Robbie Gordon, getting into turn 3 as well, and does. Slides up and clear. That was an aggressive move by Mark Martin to move into 5th place. It worked out for him though. Contact now between Kyle Busch and Dale Jr. potentially off turn 4 as well. But this is a very long race. Got to stay in it to the very end. Got to try to keep this car towards the front of the field as much as possible. Knowing how we don't take off well on restarts as well, don't want to put ourselves in the back of the pack because I think that's going to be pretty bad for ourselves. It's going to be tough to get through this traffic. Pretty much ran top 10 all dual race and Hopefully we can do that in Daytona 500 as well. Thanks for everybody tuning in that I have not shouted out. Dark Crypto, Billy Kramer, Mark DeMars, Wade Solinsky, Derek Booth, and others. Welcome into the stream. We got Conway, the 142, one of the fantasy drivers. He actually won dual race #1. So that's why he is up here and running very good in the start of the Daytona 500. Boy, that'd be an upset if we had a fantasy driver win the 500 or any race of the Cup Series. I don't think we've ever had that on any of our EA Sports games yet. Michael Waltrip starting to lose the top two. A couple Chevys running 1-2 at the front of the field right now. And Jimmy Johnson, I believe, is in second behind Kevin Harvick. Mark Martin going to give a little bump draft to Conway on the back straightaway. Lift's getting into turn 3. His car didn't get as tight that time. Prepared it to go up the racetrack just a bit. One car at the very tail end of the field has lost the draft, it appears. We had 3 cautions in our dual race earlier. Martin thought about making the pass in turn 1, but the 142 car moved down in front of him quickly enough to stay in front. Harvick has led all 5 laps to start this race. He led over half the dual race earlier today en route to his win there. Massive run here for Mark Martin. He gets around the 142. He probably could have passed Michael Waltrip if he stayed in the gas. He still might be able to get around him here. It's going to be close. Not quite going to clear him. He wanted to pull in line behind Mikey. It's probably good that Waltrip is going to be able to get that run off the high side, stay in front of Martin anyway. And Kyle Busch moves himself into the top 5 for the first time as he gets his way by the 142 as well. So 4 Roush Fenway teammates, and they're probably all rivals based off our dual race analysis. And the reason why, I can't tell you. For whatever reason, it was a glitch where we saw those Roush Fenway Fords as rivals here. And the early going, Mark Martin bump drafting with Michael Waltrip in the 55 now. And you can see they pulled Kyle Busch just a bit. Tell you what, I've been getting a lot of practice running the outside from the dual race into this one. Sokar at the tail end of the field, down on the apron, into the tri-oval. You would imagine the leaders are going to try to stay out of the way of that car. Not sure who it is. It's Kurt Busch in the 2. Tough break for Kurt. He'll go a lap down. He's going to need a caution to try to get the free pass. Getting into turns 1 and 2, Martin to the inside of Waltrip. Had a run. Really didn't want to sit behind him there. Kyle Busch gets into the wall off turn 2. So he got tight. Martin able to slide in line now between the 5 and the 55. We'll say Jimmy Johnson is keeping very close pressure on Harvick. Johnson won the Daytona 500 and the championship in real life in 2006. This 3-car group, though, is pairing with 3 separate manufacturers at that, a Dodge, a Ford, and a Chevy. Although Kyle Busch to the inside, doesn't get tight off turn 2 that time. Mark Martin holds his line. Carried a lot of speed off the exit of the corner on the outside behind Waltrip. Gives him a push down the backstretch heading into 3 and 4 again. Waltrip stays up there. I don't like how Kyle Busch is just right there because we're running the top. Busch obviously wants to run the bottom. Martin wants to run the bottom. Martin's not as good of a lead car. He qualified 18th originally and qualified for the 500, so I know I don't have a great car, single car speed. Something in NASCAR 6 that I did have. So we're in dire need of trying to be the push car as much as possible. Massive run for Waltrip on the backstretch, but an even bigger run for Mark Martin. He'll pull out a line, he'll make the pass on the 55 for 3rd, and now he'll draft behind the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, who is in 2nd right behind Harvick still. Harvick will lead the first 10 laps when we get back to the start-finish line this time by Kyle Busch to the inside of Waltrip. So they're side by side for position, and Busch will make the pass off turn 4, it appears. He's trying to get up here with his teammate, Jimmy Johnson at Hendrick Motorsports. Big run for Martin to the inside of Jimmy Johnson. Johnson thought about blocking, didn't go for it. Martin going after Harvick immediately for the lead down into turn 1. Got squeezed. Light bit of contact into the corner. Thought for a second they were both going to go up into the wall, but they somehow didn't, and Mark Martin will take the lead. And the Daytona 500, Johnson down to the bottom. Trying to get around him. Martin going to have to be on the outside. He's going to get freight train now. They're all going to the bottom. They're going to split around him. Kyle Busch goes behind the 6, so Martin does not lead a lap there. No bonus points. Jimmy Johnson will lead his first lap of the race. So bonus points for him. Surprised Busch went to the outside when the 6 was dropping back, because that might cost him 4th to Michael Waltrip. Mark Martin's grade on super speedways in this game is an A-, and overall grade is an A, so it should be pretty good. Down to the bottom underneath Harvick. Going for Johnson into turn 3 as well. Doesn't make contact this time, so momentum was definitely there. Barely clear on Johnson, so Martin should be able to lead this time by. And this will earn him 5 bonus points at the start-finish line for leading his first lap at lap number 12. So 5 bonus points for Mark Martin. And we will see how long he is going to be able to try to hang on to this. Some smoke off turn 4 up here. It might have been from somewhere back in the pack, perhaps. Harvick back to the lead after Martin led just the 1 lap. He's on the outside right now. Jimmy Johnson underneath of him. Harvick going to the outside. Turns 1 and 2. Johnson was really side drafting Martin. Martin hanging it on the top. Oh boy. Gotta be careful here. Oh my gosh. Martin going back for the lead again on the backstretch. These guys are very racy in the early going, and Martin will be clear into turn 3. The race for the most laps led is already up right here in the beginning. 3 wide on turn 4. Johnson. Maybe slight contact there with Mark Martin. Oh boy. Maybe a little too aggressive that time as they were 3 wide for the race lead. Good grief. Side drafting Harvick. In turns 1 and 2. Dual race was a lot of fun earlier. This Daytona 500, 15 laps in, is a lot of fun also. Not going to have a big enough of a run to try to pass him this time. 29 car probably the strongest in the field based off that dual race earlier and based off the fact, despite starting 4th, he led the first lap. I believe Martin led that lap at the line by inches over Harvick. Harvick trying to side draft the 6 as they go into turn 1, but Martin is clear. So he is definitely out in front right now. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Hendrick Chevy's 3rd and 4th back there working together. Trying to catch the 29 and the 6 on the back straightaway. Zachary K, thanks for tuning in. I have no clue. I haven't played NASCAR Heat 5 in a while. Santiago Kid, welcome into the stream also. Johnson down to the bottom. Underneath Kevin Harvick as they run side by side. Still door-to-door as they enter turn 1. Johnson moves to the top in front of Harvick now. Kyle Busch doesn't go with him. Jeff Gordon out of nowhere up in this lead pack. So 3 Hendrick Chevrolets in the mix. And honestly, a bunch of Chevys just right behind Mark Martin currently. Long ways to go, though, in the Daytona 500. Good to see Mark Martin out in front right now, but still yet to see exactly what will go down here over this race over the course of the next few hours. Martin barely holding on to the lead into the tri-oval on Kyle Busch. Almost turned himself, really. So he hangs on. Gordon up there with Johnson on the top. Thought it was Dale Jr. for a second. No, it's definitely Gordon. Both have red front bumpers. Classic Gordon flame car. Yeah, a lot of smoke off turn 4 almost every, not every lap, but really since about like lap 13, 14. It's the third time we've seen it. So there's definitely some cars making contact up there off the exit of the corner. It's where we saw one of the crashes in the dual race earlier. Halfway out of gas, lap 19, so probably going to be able to go about 35, 36 laps on fuel. Johnson going to the bottom. There was contact there, and I think he clipped the 29 of Harvick. Martin holds on to the lead, and he's going to have a massive lead on these guys now. That pack started to fall back just a bit. Wow, they are way back there off turn 4 now. No caution, though. We stay green. And we'll take our first field pass of the race. We'll see what Jamie McMurray in that 26 car is doing. Newcomer to Roush for our NASCAR 07 gameplay in the 26. The original 97 team. Kurt Busch was in. And Jamie's got a drafting partner with the 10 car of Scott Riggs. He's back in the 31st position, though. A lot of the Roush cars started out back in the 500 except for Martin, so no teammate help up towards the front for the 6th. And a lot of Hendrick Chevys up there. He's doing well for himself for right now. Five-stop race for sure. I doubt this thing will go caution-free, though, so that will be interesting how that potentially take care of things. Scott Riggs to the inside of the 14 car of Sterling Marlin at MB2 Motorsports. Sorry, that's actually Ginn Racing in the 14, I believe. But Riggs, McMurray going to work together to get by. Two-time Daytona 500 winner Sterling Marlin. And this is a season-long points format on this custom schedule season. We're going to title for the year Mark Martin's Revenge Tour. And we're going to see if he can win a championship for the first time in his Cup career. And today, of course, trying to win his first Daytona 500 ever. I'm trying to also get my first on a NASCAR EA Sports game on the channel. We started NASCAR Thunder 2004 all the way back towards the fall of 2020, end of summer 2020, I do believe. First year of the channel. And still haven't won it. It's early 2023 right now. It has been a good 3.5 years. And been waiting a long time to try to win a 500 on these EA Sports games. Maybe today's the day. Rick, thanks for tuning in. The screen blur. Do you actually like it, or is that a sarcasm? I can't tell, honestly. I will say your guys' graphics are better than mine through OBS with this game. This game on my PS2, it seems like everything's a little too blurry for me personally. 3 wide pass going into turn 1 for Jamie Mack. Up to 28. Scott Ricks followed him to the bottom 3 wide to get by Kurt Busch and Joe Nemechek. Remember, Kurt Busch is a lap down. He is the only car a lap down as of right now in the early go to the race. But one caution, he'll get the free pass. Being the first and only car lap down, he'll get back in it. Murray pulling away from that pack of cars behind him. He's got a teammate of Matt Kenseth in the 17 just up ahead. We will go one more lap with McMurray, and then we will transfer to that 17 car of Matt Kenseth just up ahead. Genuinely, it's nostalgic. Well, there we go. Yeah, this game feels weird because it's a new game that I haven't played on a console before. Again, I played NASCAR 7 on the PSP a ton growing up, and that's why it was honestly probably my most played NASCAR video game of all time. So I love this game. It's just weird playing it on a TV. Honestly, that's the weird thing about it. It feels similar to NASCAR 06, but oh man, car hard in the wall off turn 4. It was JJ Yaley. McMurray's gonna get by Kenseth, who had to slow up. 26 car up to P26. Will drive. Oh my gosh, I wasn't trying to do that. We'll swap to Martin real quick. I was trying to swap to Matt Kenseth, and I hit the wrong thing. There we go. I hit the wrong button. That slowed McMurray and Kenseth down quite a bit, I'd imagine. Now we'll drive as Kenseth. Good thing that didn't bring out a yellow. We should get into green flag pit stops here eventually. Well, at least with Kenseth and McMurray, they're allies. I just don't know if they are with our driver, Mark Martin. That's the scary thing. Kenseth started dead last in this race. Well, technically 42nd. Blew an engine. He was the only driver to blow an engine back in the duel. Little contact with McMurray off turn 2 down to the grass trying to keep the car going. And that's a tough break for Kenseth. Whoops. We have 2 more laps with him. I was trying to sit behind him. I had too big of a run. I didn't even think I had that big of a run, but I guess I did. Got into him. We stayed green, though. Luckily, everybody was able to hold on to it. Noticing it's a lot harder to build skill points in this game. There aren't as many chase plates, if I remember correctly, though, so there's kind of that. I was able to unlock all the chase plates up in NASCAR 06. Barely. It took till like literally the very last Busch race to do it, but I got it. Gotta hope the cycling of green flag pit stops not only cycles through, but we stay green, because again, that is going to be the best thing here for Mark Martin in this race. This field is getting very spaced apart, and honestly, he'll probably get into lap traffic pretty soon after pit stops, I'd imagine, as well. We will swap to, let's go to Greg Biffle next. In the 16. So we will go to the Biff. He's made his way a little further through the field. He also Had to start pretty deep, but he is up to 12th. And he is with his former teammate Jeff Burton in the 31. The 142 car right behind him. Dropped back quite a bit from the start. Burton running the bottom. So that'll be good for Biffle. Biffle was getting tight on the bottom when he was in line behind another car there, though. About 10 seconds off the lead. Want to get to the inside of Jeff. He did. Kept from making contact. Biffle clearing up to 11th now. We side by side into the corner. 42 clapping the wall off turn 4 now. 30 laps in the books, caution free in the Daytona 500 on NASCAR 07. Live tonight on KRC. Got 18 people watching, 15 likes on the stream already, so hit that like button if you haven't done so, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. So we're getting pretty close to green flag pit stops in this Daytona 500. Honestly, shouldn't be too far away. About a quarter tank of gas left for Biffle at this point in the run. We'll go 2 more laps and then we'll switch back to Mark Martin. 2 more laps with the Biff. Just raced as in a full season in NASCAR 06 on that custom schedule season that wrapped up a few weeks ago. Catching up to Robbie Gordon, who used to drive this 31 car. Greg Biffle pulling out of line now on Jeff Burton. And Robbie Gordon going to pull down in front of the 16. So we got a chance to get Biffle in the top 10. And we have some cars hitting pit road this time. Mark Martin stays out. So some drivers pitting really early into this run. Lap 32 in the Daytona 500. So our first set of pit stops. Mark Martin still on the racetrack. I'm hoping he stays out of the pits this time by. Robbie Gordon might have scraped the wall a little bit on the top. Biffle had to pull out a line and bait him down to the bottom. Couldn't make the pass, so he didn't have any help because the 31 stayed on the top with Robbie. Hi, Stephen King 92 Hammer, thanks for tuning in. And Mark Martin is in the pits this time, so never mind on that. Martin's coming in. Oh, Biffle got tight. A little bit of contact there with Robbie Gordon. Jeff Burton going to get by both cars. I guess we'll drop back to Jamie McMurray then again while we're... Oh my gosh, Jamie Mack. Big wreck off turn 4. McMurray is around. Gets smacked around pretty good. He went for a spin off turn 4 right as we were transferring back to him. Kurt Busch and Sterling Marlin got huge pieces of that wreck. 3-car crash off turn 4, our first caution of the race. There were some cars on pit road when that caution flag came out. Something happened to Jamie McMurray there. That was not our fault. He was spinning as we switched to him. Everybody who did not pit yet will hit pit road now. It'll be interesting to see who's on the lead lap, who's a lap down. But McMurray is definitely in. As we have our first caution of the season. Love this Irwin Tools paint scheme. Too bad it's all dinged up. McMurray's still in the race. A lot of damage to the back of that race car, though. Oh, man, we got cars wrecking coming out of the pits. Oh, McMurray got turned, too. So there is definitely some cars that are a lap down. Other than Kurt Busch, who we knew was a lap down, there is probably 6 or 7 cars that will restart on the bottom of the lead lap cars. Green flag back in the air. Jimmy Johnson will be the leader on the restart. Lap 38 in the Daytona 500. Haven't seen Dale Jr. yet. He'll be there, more than likely. And this 26 car is not going to be as fast as it was. We don't really know the real speed in it beforehand, but definitely drop it back off this restart. I crashed 4 moments ago. We'll go back to Mark Martin. Mark Martin is in 30th. He lost a lot of time due to being on pit road when that caution flag came out. He's still on the lead lap, but very deep in this field. What a shame for Mark. And now he's got 3 wide in front of him. Debris bringing out a caution. So Debris and Martin just missed it to the inside. Couldn't tell who that came off of. It looked like it came off the 14 of Sterling Marlin, who was on that outside lane right in front of him. I saw the piece of debris, didn't realize it came off his car. I wonder if Joe Nemechek ran it over because he ended up in the wall right after that. Mark Martin's still in this thing, though. And we'll get to the restart. So that'll get somebody else their lap back, whoever gets the free pass with the caution. Couple yellows back-to-back in the Daytona 500. And the green flag will be back in the air at lap number 42. 43, rather. Oh, another debris yellow. I don't know if Martin got that spot on Dave Blaney for the caution came out or not. And now the hood of Marlin's car's come off. So 2 debris cautions from Sterling Marlin. First his entire front bumper came off, and now his hood. And that was as we were getting up to speed. At least the last time we got about a lap and a half in. Davion West, thanks for tuning in to the stream also. Oh boy. Martin will continue to stay out here. Got to keep all the track position we can. He's back there with his teammate. That stinks though. That caution came out in the middle of green flag pit stops like that. That's what I was afraid of. Martin was already on pit road though. Couldn't really do anything else. Green flag back in the air. So Martin did not get by Dave Blaney. He's underneath him, but I don't think he's going to be able to get by him this time as he tries to get up to speed. Mark just not good on the restarts. Maybe he won't lose as much time here. Sterling Marlin kind of holding Dave Blaney up. They're not pulling as far ahead. 29th, but towards the tail end of the lead lap is the 6 car right now. Oh, we got trouble off turn 4. A couple cars getting together. It's going to slow a lot of cars up into the tri-oval. Mark Martin down to the apron. No out of bounds at this Daytona. Not in this game. Took advantage of that. And now he has some drafting help and also passed the 66 car of Jeff Green for 26th. And Dave Blaney checked up too. He was able to get around him getting into turn 3 also. Jimmy Johnson continues to lead in the Daytona 500. Curious as to how far back Kevin Harvick might have fallen through pit stops there. It's definitely in contention a little earlier. To watch the exit of turn 4. Seems to be Calamity Corner so far. Martin trying to squeeze underneath Brian Vickers. Kind of don't want to get trapped on the outside off the exit of turn 4, knowing how dangerous it seems to be today. Oh, turn 2 was about dangerous. Contact with Kyle Petty, and I couldn't tell who was on the outside of him, but they got into the wall. Martin's up to 22nd. He's picking up spots this way. Don't think he's close enough to draft off the cars in front of him, though. Maybe he's close enough to David Stremming, but he doesn't have any help behind him. Meanwhile, Jeremy Mayfield is there, but... Martin got to keep up with the 142 and the 40. Can't stay single file in front of him. Martin down with the 142 car. You'd have to imagine he's fast somehow after winning his duel earlier. David Stremme was a lap down, because Martin's still in 22nd. So he's been as far back as 30th in this race so far. Mark gonna bump draft the 142 car in the back straightaway. Trying to be a little more aggressive mid-pack, and we got trouble again. Oh my gosh. Kurt Busch. Couldn't tell who he made contact with, but he made contact there. We stay green. Contact all over the racetrack, and this is the danger of being in the middle of the pack. Both those spots were for position there for Martin as well. And luckily the 142 didn't lift right in front of Martin. He stayed in the gas, got to the inside, and made his way around. Defending champion Tony Stewart in the 20 car. Joe Gibbs Racing on the outside. Massive run for Martin. Going to the outside lane. Everybody abandons him, though. And he's going to have to be on the top. A lot of crowding going on there off turn 4. That was an aggressive side draft on the 143. It worked, though. Oh, my gosh. I don't know how I didn't make contact with him. Carries the momentum, too. Mark trying to slice and dice his way through the pack. Pushing the 191. Has to back off of him going into turn 1, though. Got some momentum off. He's up to 16th. Mark's trying to get this car through the field. He's taking care of it, but he's making some aggressive moves middle of the pack, to say the least. Trying to get up here before the leaders really start to pull away. Modern Genetics, thanks for tuning in. Rookie Denny Hamlin in the 11 for Joe Gibbs Racing, having a solid start, assuming he's on the lead lap. That was a caution, by the way. Kurt Busch needed to get back on the lead lap. Unfortunately, there were other cars already lapped down because of green flag pit stops, so he didn't actually get his lap back. Martin making a move on Hamlin. Will he keep it 3 wide to the bottom? He does. Underneath of the 2, Kurt Busch, J.J. Yaley. Contact Yaley into the wall. Couldn't hold the middle lane going into turn 3. He and Kurt Busch got together. Martin up to 12. Luckily, he was just ahead of it. And up to 11th. Casey Mears blocking to the outside. It might open the bottom back up, though, for Casey Kane, the other Casey, to try to make a pass. Martin scraping the wall, and plenty of clearance there for Casey Kane off turn 4 as a result. He's got a teammate, Greg Biffle, just up ahead. Martin has not been able to work with any teammates today. And Kevin Harvick, danger of falling out of the top 10. So dominant, but now he's back in traffic. Never really was back in his duel earlier. Martin into the top 10 for the first time now. Up to 10th. Tim Irvin, thanks for tuning in. Blub, welcome to the stream. Just gets under Martin Truex Jr. What a drive through the pack. Biffle luckily not an ally. Or not a rival, I should say, in this race. They backed way up, getting into the corner there. And Mark Martin, not quite clear of Martin Truex Jr. Backstretch. 31, 16, 38 are the three cars up in front of Mark Martin. Getting into turn 3. Big run for the 6. He's back up to 9th, though. He's moving his way through this field. Restarted 30th. Oh, boy. Near wreck. 31 car got a push for Mark Martin off turn 4, and that pushed him through there as Greg Biffle made contact. Car on his outside. Martin might have pushed Burton a little too far out in front of him, unfortunately, because Mark's going to have a hard time trying to catch him. So move up to 6th and 7th. Johnson's led every lap from the restart. Mark Martin barely clinging onto the draft here of this 31 of Jeff Burton, and he's reeling him in quick. Six cars fast. Finished second in the duel for a reason. Trying to go for the win in the Daytona 500. His final season with Roush. I mean, if there's going to be a time to win the championship with Roush, now would be the time, considering Kenseth won the title in 03 and Kurt Busch in 04. Mark Martin to push Jeff Burton on the back straightaway. Burton kind of in the middle lane getting into 3 and 4. Definitely closing in on that lead pack up here. A lot of separation between Martin and the cars behind him back in the pack. These guys are about 3 seconds off the lead, though. Jimmy Johnson has pulled away from the rest of the leaders on the restart. Might be some lap cars mixed in with some of the lead lap cars up ahead. Michael Waltrip's been hanging in the top 5 all race. He's still at 5th. Starting on the pole, that caution didn't mess him up at all. Mark Martin out to push the 31 car once again. Doesn't feel he's quite close enough yet. Pull out a line to make the pass on Jeff Burton. I haven't won on an EA Sports game in the Daytona 500 since making the channel. So NASCAR Thunder 04, I went 0 for 2. NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005, I went 0 for 2. And NASCAR Total Team Control, I went 0 for 2. I haven't won a truck race either. I've won, I want to say, 1 Busch race, and the only Cup race I won was the most recent Cup race on NASCAR 06, which was the Pepsi 400. But it took 15 points races to win one in an EA Sports game at Daytona. Got the win with Greg Biffle in that custom schedule season, second half of the year, but still haven't won the big one, which was the 500. Michael Waltrip getting loose. I think Kyle Busch might have gotten into him. Martin went up the middle. Makes a pass on Jeff Burton for 5th, and obviously got by Waltrip. Tough break for Michael, but he held on to it. We stay green. Mark Martin and Kyle Busch now working together. Martin bump drafting Busch. We know the Hendrick cars are pretty strong today, too. They have 3 of them in the top 4. Johnson, who won this race in real life, leading right now. Jeff Gordon side by side for 2nd. Can't tell who it's with. And you got Kyle Busch in 4th, and it's Dale Jr., of course. A lot of Chevys just strong in this race in general. Dale got cleared for 2nd by Gordon. Got down the track to be able to block Kyle Busch in time. Martin making a move on Busch down the back straightaway for position. They all kind of merge to the outside, but as they go to the bottom into the corner, that should help Mark. And he's getting a draft off Gordon up ahead. On the exit of turn 4, definitely clears Kyle Busch. Hobson line behind Earnhardt. 2.9 seconds off the lead. And now Martin making a dive into one for third place on Dale Jr., but he doesn't have any help to go with him. Gordon drops towards the middle. Now to the bottom off the exit of the corner. That's going to help Mark Martin potentially clear Dale Jr. I think Kyle Busch got... No, he was on the outside behind Dale, but obviously Mark Martin will draft behind Gordon to get to third, and what a comeback from 30th on the restart. Problem is he's still 3 seconds off the lead from Jimmy Johnson. We'll take our second field pass of the race when we get to the start-finish line next time by. Now that we have got Martin back towards the front of the field on this restart. A lot of near misses in the middle of the pack where there was a lot of contact, some drivers getting up into the wall. Luckily Martin was able to stay where he was and try to make a pass for second place on the back straightaway. Gets underneath Jeff Gordon, and he'll be clear with ease. Into turns 3 and 4. Martin has rallied from 30th to 2nd on the restart. Let the AI take over for Martin for the meantime. Our second field pass of the race again will be underway. We'll go to Matt Kenseth in the 17 car next. Kenseth is in 18th. I don't have assists on. Not with these games. NASCAR 22, on the other hand, is a different story. I was going to say, is that Michael Waltrip in front of us? He got into the wall after making contact with the car earlier. And it seems as if he is in 17th now. Wow, after running 5th. And in the top 5 this whole race up until he made that contact. Now he's dropped way back, unfortunately. Matt Kenseth not quite close enough to try to get behind him in the draft. He's trying. Robbie Gordon and I believe Dale Jarrett are the two cars in 19th and 20th behind Kenseth. Two cautions, three cautions, 2 of them for debris off Sterling Marlin, and then a 3-car crash involving Jamie McMurray, Kurt Busch, and Sterling Marlin off of turn 4. Hence the debris yellows soon after by the 14 of Marlin. Did not repair damage on pit road. We had 3 cautions in the duel. We had 3 cautions in the first 60 laps of the Daytona 500, and there were 60 laps in the duel race. Kenseth finally catches Waltrip. 2 more laps at the 17, and then we'll transfer to, we'll go to Greg Biffle next. So I think he's in the top 10. Go to Greg Biffle. Maybe it wasn't a good idea. 3 wide middle into turn 3. What are the odds we swap to Greg Biffle? He's 3 wide in the middle going into the corner. Little wall scrape there, nothing too major. Stays in it. run for Joe Nemechek so far. McMurray, after wrecking, has gotten into the top 10. Second highest running Roush Fenway Ford right now, and are seemingly drafting away from Greg Biffle. Just a bit until they got side by side in the back straightaway, and he's going to catch up again. Still like Casey Mears behind him, which helped. Trying to stay in the draft. More cars on the top than bottom here. This could get dicey off of turn 4. Casey Kane will clear the 26. Greg Biffle going to make a pass on Joe Nemechek. He's still underneath his teammate McMurray in the tri-oval. Casey Kane moving down to the bottom. And now back to the outside going into turn 1. Truex on the bottom, but he's too far ahead. Biffle trying to slide in line in front of his teammate. McMurray not going to let him in. Greg Biffle back in the top 10. McMurray in 11th. "70 laps in the books this time by. Have to be getting pretty close to pit stops again. Right in the middle of them when we had that last caution. And yeah, here we go. We got some cars coming in this time. They pitted around lap 32. Jimmy Johnson's pitting first. Oh boy, this is going to get dangerous off turn 4. Contact between Biffle and Truex. I knew they were 3 wide and Biffle's in the middle. It was going to be tough to hold on. That was the case. Mark Martin has regained the race lead. Now that Jimmy Johnson pitted from the lead as he was the first car into the pits. Nobody else with him, but no drafting helped that entire run for Johnson, leading every lap from the restart. And that is why he had pitted first. And we'll transfer to Jamie McMurray in that 26 car. Sending outside of Greg Biffle. 4 laps with Jamie Mack. And we'll go back to Mark Martin for a little while again. Contact in the middle of the corner. There's a lot more stability in this game when there's contact in the middle of the corner, thank God. So we've had that a couple times already, but not perfect either. Jeff Gordon has gone to the lead, catching and passing Mark Martin. I believe it's going to be 5 bonus points for Jeff. Watch the lappers coming out of the pits, of course. Biffle and McMurray working together. Biffle pulling to the bottom. I think he's going to pit this time. So with him pitting this time, Murray going to make sure he does not make contact with him. Gordon staying out, so he definitely led that lap. Biffle is in. 5 bonus points for Gordon. Now leading in today's race. Two more laps with the 26 yet. Then we'll go back to the 6. Well, we had our first caution during green flag pit stops, but we have a second yellow during green flag stops for the 4th total of the day. Still watching all these cars coming out of the pits down the bottom. McMurray getting a little extra draft off of Michael Waltrip in the 55, who's trying to get up to speed. Slides right in front of his former teammate, Martin Truex Jr. getting into the corner. That's going to hold him back, and Nemechek gets by in the bottom. Ooh, makes contact with Waltrip, it looked like, off turn 4 back there. McMurray to 4th. 3 cars in front of him still have to pit. Nemechek in 5th. Murray going wide into turns 1 and 2. Nemechek going to make a pass. Jerks gets by Waltrip finally. Kenseth in line right behind the 55 yet. Big run for McMurray into 3. Gets squeezed and actually squeezed to 0-1 as well. Simultaneously. Gordon staying out again. So does Mark Martin. McMurray clear off turn 4 on the 0-1 of Nemechek. And back to Mark Martin we go. So he's in second. Matt Kenseth, by the way, on pit road. Pitted that last time off turn 4. Big run for Martin. It's getting pretty low on fuel. It appears as he gets down to the bottom. Underneath Jeff Gordon. Now he pitted at lap 32. Should be able to go 36 laps on fuel, so he'll stay out. And Mark Martin will pit this time by. Couldn't quite lead that lap. Going to get back around Jeff Gordon. It is going to be a 2-tire stop for Mark Martin. It'll be right side tires only, so he can try to gain track position on Jimmy Johnson, who was ahead by a couple seconds when those pit stops first started and when Jimmy Johnson first pitted. It looks like Jeff Gordon will pit this time too. So if it is a slow stop on the 6 for some reason, at least Jeff Gordon will be there with him. A lot of smoke off turn 4. No caution, though. We stay green, and Martin's got to make sure not to lock the tires up into the pits, but he's got to slow it down. He has to lock the tires or he's going to speed. And he hits 70 miles an hour right at the commitment line. Remember, our pit stop during the yellow flag of the dual race earlier, so that was the first time he had to actually try to go to pit road at speed. And for myself in this game entirely to do it. I didn't really get any practice time. So right sides only, but those left sides took a little bit of abuse coming into the pits. Other than that, though, clean run for Martin to get through the field. Quick pit stop, and he'll be off and running. He's got one more car that's going to get up to speed, and then he'll use the whole racetrack to get up to speed himself here, as there's nobody else coming. Yeah, my controller vibrates a ton when I'm shifting. I wonder how it's going to be on the road courses. It feels like it's really slow shifting in this game. It's not smooth at all. It feels like it struggles, like the transmission's about to blow or something. Personally. Where will Mark Martin cycle, and will he be ahead of Jimmy Johnson is the next question. As he gets up to speed. He is leading, by the way, so never mind. He has already cycled up to the front. Let's alternate through the different camera angles now for the first time in the race. See all the new camera angles for this NASCAR 07 game. Mark Martin has cycled to the lead after taking right side tires only during the green flag pit stops in the Daytona 500. Everybody has pitted now. Michael Turner, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it was a very close poll. 56% to 44%. Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon were the last two. Kevin Harvick probably the one to beat in the Daytona 500 coming in and at the very start, but after the caution in the middle green flag stops, he and Martin cycle outside the top 10. Go to the in-car cam. Very similar to NASCAR 06. Ryan Newman going a lap down, by the way, in the 12 car right there. He is very slow on the apron. At least he's on the apron when he's slow. I'll take it. Nice to lead the most laps. It's going to be tough, though, too, because Jimmy Johnson led quite a bit when he was out in front. This camera angle feels so slow in this game. Kind of overdrove turn 1 down to the bottom because of it. It just feels like everything's moving by. So slowly, at least. Passing by slowly. Well, here comes Jimmy Johnson. The Lowe's 48 car. We may be driving as him in that same paint scheme in the Busch Series. No, he was leading the polls going into this. And he has caught Mark Martin. Remember, Martin took right side tires only. Johnson's got a fast car. We'll see how long Mark can hold on to the lead for. Johnson's probably led the most laps in this race so far. He doesn't have any help, though, to try to get around Martin, even with the older left side tires for Mark. Johnson is now probably on the outside of Mark Martin getting into turns 1 and 2. Mark not going to be too aggressive with the block still early in the race. I know he wants to lead the most laps, but he's probably been there before in the Daytona 500, but he has never won the Daytona 500. Trying to make it all the way to the end. So Johnson clear. He'll pull up in line behind the 48. Jeff Gordon's coming pretty quickly. He wants to keep these Hendrick cars apart from each other to keep from working in accordions to get around him. Mark just going to stay in line right behind Johnson. No incentive to try to pass him, even though there's bonus points for the most laps led. This is a season-long points format. Not worried about it here today in the 500. Slow car down to the bottom of the track. Looked like potentially Sterling Marlin, who had a lot of damage after a crash earlier, may end up out of this race here. Game is lighter than NASCAR 6? What do you mean by that? Oh, like brighter? I didn't know what you meant by lighter. I'm like, what, weighs less? Guess the case was heavier. Johnson and Martin working well together. They are pulling away. Martin needs to be smart with those older left side tires, and he can lead more laps if he cycles back to late through green flag pit stops, keep taking 2 tires every time. Because he's obviously got speed to keep up. It's also going to be interesting, though, can he take care of the left side tires all the way through this run, especially with locking them up coming into the pits. Try not to speed. He gained about as much time as he possibly could have into those pit stops as well. Lifted just a little bit. He got underneath Jimmy Johnson. Almost got into his left rear. Johnson didn't give him much room there. Mark Martin being very patient. As we know Mark Martin to be. It's not a surprise he's very patient. I mean, this could be the championship, too, at the end of the season. It could be the 48 and the 6. I would not be surprised. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. We got 35 races to go after this. I kind of like this camera angle better in this game than the older EA games because I feel like it looks like I'm further away from Jimmy Johnson than what I actually am. Versus, I'm able to see essentially because of that. Versus, I feel like with this camera angle in most NASCAR games, you just can't see in front of you. Now, if there were more cars in the pack, that would probably be the case. everything's spaced apart after green flag pit stop, so that's not the case. I can work with it. Feels like I'm not having the car move around as much either. Two-car tango at the front of the field. Martin off the throttle quite a bit, getting into turns 1 and 2. Keeping it off the 48 car, who chopped down to the bottom, getting into the corner. And they're definitely closing in on some lap traffic. The plan here for Martin, stick with the 48. I think Johnson's okay with this. He's leading a bunch of laps. Not too late in the race, even though he's got somebody breathing down his neck. Mark Martin being very patient because he's not bump drafting him on the straightaways. He's not being over aggressive sitting behind him. He's trying to gap everybody as far as he can. He just wants to take care of the tires. He's fine with leading laps on two-tire strategies. It's going to be tough to beat Johnson for the most laps led on that strategy because Jimmy's led more than Mark before we got into this strategy middle of the race. Building an ally, of course, which helps. Another car blowing up. Looks like Casey Mears blowing an engine. Down to the bottom of the racetrack, Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin about to put David Stremme a lap down. I think Stremme was already 1 lap down, so he is going to go 2 laps down in the 40 car. Sterling Marlin in that Coors machine about a half decade before that. Stremme, another rookie. These lap cars at the tail end of the field even more spaced apart than the leaders. Johnson and Martin about to catch another. That would be Reed Sorensen. Man, tough run for the Ganassi cars. They're probably going to be not having so good of runs most of the year. Casey Mears blew an engine. David Stremme's 2 laps down. It looks like Reed Sorensen in the 41's about to go a lap down. You know when Casey Mears is the veteran of that team, that 3-car organization. How did they survive in the mid-2000s with Sterling Marlin left? Ooh. Now that smoke and contact off turn 4 up ahead of the leaders just happened, I believe. It looked fresh. We're almost halfway in the Daytona 500. with this being the first race of the season, I want you guys down in the chat to answer this question I have for you guys. How many races do you think we're going to win with Mark Martin this season? Kind of curious. Honestly, the car is looser, taking the left or taking the right sides only. That I actually feel more comfortable running the top now than what I did when I had 4 tires. It doesn't feel like it's as tight in the dirty air behind the 48. It's definitely looser, and I actually like it. I think the right side only call was pretty good. Now when I put left sides on it, though, I don't know how. It might be a little different. It might be even tighter than what it was originally. Let's have to wait and see. If we get to another set of green flag stops, of course. Dave Blaney in the 22 car for Bill Davis Racing is about to be the next driver to go a lap down. Halfway out of fuel at this point in the run. Johnson to the bottom of Blaney. On the back straightaway. Got another car blowing up on the apron of the racetrack, it appears. I couldn't tell who that was. Went by him too quickly. Starting to have a lot of drivers blowing engine zone in the middle portion of this race. Gotta not make any mistakes, especially on pit road, because we're probably gonna have 3 more pit stops left in this one yet. I'm curious, though, when the 48 and the 6 catch a lot bigger lap traffic, a bigger clump of cars at once, if they'll still be able to stay together getting around them, and how much will they potentially get held up as well? Be the next question. Things are calm for now. Almost halfway in the Daytona 500 already. 3 cautions in the fairly early going to the race, but we've been caution-free for over 50 laps in this Daytona 500. Scrape off the wall for Martin off turn 4. First time he's scraped the wall this entire run on these older tires, older left side tires. Kind of bounced off of it pretty cleanly, pretty quick. It's like Kiss. Did it again. be halfway this time by. Start-finish line in the Daytona 500. Two more lap cars up the way. Martin to the bottom. He's going to pass Jimmy Johnson. Don't think he is clear. Oh, he is clear. Never mind. Mark Martin back to the lead in the Daytona 500. Jimmy Johnson getting a run. Will this be an official lead change at the line? Yes, it is. And Mark Martin leads the Daytona 500 for the third different time today. Should say the fourth, because he cycled to the lead through green flag pit stops as well. Jimmy Johnson's still hanging on that outside lane, though. Martin holding his line in the middle and the bottom. He's way out ahead of the leaders. Oh boy. Still side by side. That contact held Martin up a little bit. Johnson's clear again. That probably wasn't a wise decision. I didn't feel comfortable being side by side like that. Don't really have the grip for right now to do that this later in the run. Feel a little too free on the bottom, honestly. Now 2 more lap cars. Right in front of the top 2. Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, too. I don't know exactly what you celebrate specifically on St. Patrick's Day, but happy St. Patrick's Day. I do not have green. Oh! Johnson got into the back of Ryan Newman. And as he did so, Mark Martin got around the 48. Petty bounces off the wall now. And as he bounces off the wall, looks like Greg Biffle's going to take the race lead away from him. Well, I should say put him a lap down. So Mark Martin back in the lead. Yeah, Newman got, I don't know if he made contact with Johnson or he got in the wall and Johnson had to check up, but whatever the case was, that allowed for Mark Martin to get to the lead. Newman being Newman. He was already 1 lap down. There's a little bit of drafting help behind your race leader, Mark Martin, with Kyle Petty right there. Johnson still struggling to get by the 12 car now that he's by himself with no other drafting help. We're not too far away from green flag pit stops. So this is already getting Mark Martin a few extra laps led here during this green flag run. He was content with sitting behind Johnson until that happened. Now he's perfectly fine with just trying to lead as many laps as he can before we get to pit stops, because they'll be taking left sides only. Car may go from loose to tight. Gonna hope it works out for him. Johnson and Newman trying to draft together. Newman just not quite as quick. He's up in the running for most of the dual race. Drafted up quickly behind Kyle Petty. Dive bombs to the inside going into the corner. Dale Jr. leaving pit road. We're just getting into some green flag pit stops. Johnson was one of the first cars into the pit the last time, so he may be pitting pretty soon. He finally gets by Kyle Petty, cleared off turn 2. He's got a massive run on Martin, as Martin obviously had that big gap built up on the 48. He's going to go to the bottom to block. Johnson staying on the inside. And I think Jimmy may be pitting this time. Martin goes wide. He's going to let the 48 down there. And the wall scrape there. Kyle Petty gets into the wall as well. But Martin holds on to the lead with Jimmy Johnson in the pits. Well, the question is, when does Mark Martin pit? Petty down to the bottom. Him and Newman drafting together. Petty back on the lead lap. And we're going to the inside. Petty down to side draft him. I think they both are going to try to pit this time. Petty into the wall, though, getting into 3 and 4. Martin was drafted with the 12. Kyle Petty in the wall again off turn 4. Mark Martin and continue to stay out lead laps. Getting really low on fuel. He's gonna stay out this time by, potentially the next time by as well. Again, this will be the 3rd pit stop of the race, and the 2nd under green flag conditions for Mark Martin. We'll try not to lock the tires up this time, but it didn't actually really hurt him. At least with the left sides. Now the right sides will be a little older this next time through. Kyle Petty going into the pits. Martin giving him room. Martin would like this to stay green so the field doesn't get bunched together, but if a caution did come out, he would trap quite a few cars a lap down. Martin will pit this time by. He will not go another lap on fuel here. And it will be right side tires only for the 6. Locking him up just a hair. Not as bad as he did the last time, though. So left side tires only. Left side tires only for Mark Martin. Topping off on fuel, no adjustments. Hasn't made any adjustments to that race car all week, really. Between the dual and the 500. And out of the pits he goes. Jeff Gordon's still out there on the track. Mark Martin trying to get up to speed. Yeah, I'm getting out of the way. Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. I thought Mayfield was coming in hot. Paul Menard was coming in even hotter. Just got down to the bottom right before he ran into the back of the 6. That would have been bad. Martin just tried to get back onto the asphalt as soon as he could there. Tony Raines in the DLP 96 car is behind him. Jeff Gordon still out on the racetrack. Next lap at the start-finish line, we will transfer to Matt Kenseth for another field pass in today's race. Down to 90 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Raines came out of the pits same time as Martin. He's got fresher tires, but he is a lap down. So back to Kenseth we go in the 17. Matt is in 11th right now. Right behind the 31 car of Jeff Burton. Jeff Gordon is on pit road. Kenseth will get back on the lead lap. And it looks like all the top four pitted at the same time. Notice Jeff Gordon stayed out of the pits longer than everybody else. Second time he's done that now. Kenseth cycling out ahead of Casey Kane coming out of the pits, so he is in the top 10. Probably past maybe another car or two coming out of the pits the next time he gets to the back straightaway. Or cars that are still on pit road, in fact, as well. Quite a few are down there. Jamie McMurray is in the pits also. Kenseth to 8th. Still have one car down in the apron trying to get up to speed. That's McMurray. So Kenseth is cycled up to 7th. Look how far behind race leader Mark Martin he is, though. I'll have to see what that interval is next time by. Martin cycles back to the lead, though, in the Daytona 500 as he leads that lap at the start-finish line. .5 seconds off the lead is Kenseth right now. Absolutely insane. That's the gap between 1st and 7th in the Daytona 500. Got 2 sets of green flag pit stops during this green flag run, and pretty much full fuel runs considering we were in the middle of green flag stops when the first caution of the race came out. We've had 3 yellows, though, because 2 debris cautions came out soon after that. We have been green ever since. The question is, have we seen the final caution of the race somehow, or is it just the middle portion here? Things are getting drawn out. Who knows? Go back to Greg Biffle in the 16. He's in 9th. Also in the top 10. He's 2 positions behind Kenseth. Lap 115. Dale Jarrett, Kyle Busch closing in behind. It's likely who Greg Biffle will have to draft with once they get to him. Biffle's 23.1 seconds off the lead. Jarrett with a run. Biffle going to give up the inside lane. Getting into turns 1 and 2 for Jarrett to make the pass for 9th. Kyle Busch stayed on the outside behind the 16. Probably a bad move for him. He could have gotten by on the bottom. And now the 2 Fords of Greg Biffle and Dale Jarrett will work together. Jarrett, 3-time Daytona 500 winner, going for his 4th today. I think this is the first time we've seen him in the top 10 all race. Up to 9th, so he's getting his way through there. Now he'll try to lead Greg Biffle in this pack where we're running right now. So it'll be right sides only next pit stop then for Mark Martin. should have 2 more pit stops left in this race. Everybody should. But some drivers have pitted just less than 90 to go. Looks as if there's quite a bit of clean air in front of the 6 car as well. No traffic, really. Smoke off turn 4. Leader's going through it. Careful with a little bump draft getting into the tri-oval, and Dale Jarrett will go back to Mark Martin in the 6. And he's still pretty far out ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Which is good for now. 80 laps to go in the Daytona 500. For the 6 car of Mark Martin, he's got a 3.7 second lead. Problem is, he's in no man's land. And he doesn't have great single car speed. If you missed our dual race stream earlier, we qualified on that stream for the Daytona 500 as well, and originally qualified 18th before finishing 2nd in the dual, started 9th in dual race number 2. Johnson 9/10 of a second quicker than Biffle Martin that last lap, so he's definitely going to get there eventually. Martin trying to make this interesting in a battle for the most laps led. I'll give him that. He's going to try to stay in front of the 48 when he gets there. But if he does get around him, he's just going to go back to sitting behind him again, as he did for a large majority of the last fuel run. While it might be giving away some laps led, it's keeping him in the top 2. They're able to really pull away from the rest of the field. This in total is the 5th different time Mark Martin has led in this Daytona 500 this afternoon. It probably won't be the last, as Johnson is coming pretty quickly now. Better about anywhere between 9/10 of a second to a full second faster a lap than him. He's got 1 car drafting with him, and that's how much faster 2 cars are than 1. And I believe Johnson's the 2nd of those 2 cars. So he is the push car right now. Right front tire wearing on Mark Martin's Ford as of right now. 0.8 of a second is the difference between 1st and 2nd. Johnson to the inside of the lap car in the tri-oval, heading now into 1 and 2. Maybe not quite close enough to get a draft off Mark Martin yet. But he's making the switch so he can be that lead car when he catches the 6. Martin going to the bottom on the back straightaway at 48 towards the top. For right now, we'll see where he'll go in turns 3 and 4. Johnson didn't go down to try to draft off the 6 on the back straightaway. Being patient, he knows he's going to get there. Lap car is Tony Raines, which was who Martin was around going into the pit stops to begin with. And here we go. Mark Martin will lead this lap at the start-finish line as well. Johnson still behind him. Tony Raines is on the bottom of the 96 DLP race car. It's a nice paint scheme, too, for Raines in this game. Raines getting in the way of Jimmy Johnson there. Martin on those older right side tires now, holding on to it. Johnson on the bottom. Martin down to block the 48. Johnson did clear Raines. Oh, contact! Johnson and Raines get together off turn 4. Tony Raines slides. As they get into the tri-oval, Martin holds on to the lead, and he pulls away from Johnson again. A little over a second ahead of him now, as Johnson's got to regain that momentum, with more cars catching him out of his rear view. Tony pushed tight at bottom lane. Hate to see a lap car get in the way like that. Made a good save to keep it green at least. Allows for Martin to kind of leisurely hang on for about another lap and a half at least. In the lead. Not sure if those cars catching up behind Johnson are on the lead lap. Maybe some of them are, some of them aren't. Martin will easily lead this next lap at the start-finish line also. Here's Jimmy. No lap car in the way this time. He gets to the outside. Martin crowded him. There wasn't enough. Lap car Jeff Green, by the way. Oh, no, actually, that's Kyle Busch in the 5. Who we definitely know is on the lead lap. I think it's either Busch or it's Green. It's hard to tell for sure if it's the Best Buy or the Kellogg's car. If it's Kyle Busch, he is definitely on the lead lap. But if it is Jeff Green, he is a lap down. Johnson back to the lead, though, in the Daytona 500. Lap 128 in the Great American Race. Trying to win the 2006 Daytona 500 as he did in real life. Ended up winning his first championship that season as well. Not sure where exactly Mark Martin finished in the 06 Daytona 500. But I don't think he was in contention to win there on the last lap, at least. Remember Casey Mears finishing second in that race behind Johnson. I just realized there hasn't really been any lap traffic in front of the leaders in a while, not since exiting pit road. Gone over half a fuel run. Martin pitted back on lap 110, so it'll be 20 laps into this fuel run next time by. Got to the bottom of the 48. Side draft him a little bit. He wasn't really looking to try to make the pass there, but he'll get underneath him anyway. Dive it off into turns 3 and 4. Looking to hold the bottom. Yeah, wasn't too aggressive with the side draft in the middle of the corner, trying to crowd the 48, trying to give him room. Martin knows those right side tires are a little older. Try not to use them up still. It's a two-stopper to the end yet. Again, had a run on Johnson, goes to the bottom. Jimmy's being patient too, he's not really blocking. Still 70 laps to go when we get to the start-finish line this time by. Johnson holds that run off turn 4, and again, Martin just goes in line behind him. I'm just excited to see how this is going to play out here. This might be my best position of ever winning a Daytona 500 on an EA Sports NASCAR game. And, of course, it comes with the one I probably played the most growing up, so... be a nostalgic win for me, and maybe for you guys as well, getting Mark Martin a potential Daytona 500 win. Something he never got in his illustrious NASCAR Hall of Fame career. Having to battle future teammate Jimmy Johnson for it. National champion and 500 champion from this year. So if you had to beat a guy, this would probably be the one. Qualified second in the 500 with Jimmy as well. Took him a little bit to lead. Honestly, cycled to the lead after the first green flag. Or no, it was the pit stops during the caution got him that track position. And it's been in the top 2 really ever since. Getting into the corner. Martin a little loose. Contact with Johnson. They're both up into the wall. Yeah, they were side by side, and he got loose that time. Into the wall he went. Martin leads. And that's Jeff Green in the 66, so it wasn't Kyle Busch. He'll get back on the lead lap. And he's in the wall now in turn 1, it looked like. Jeff Gordon behind the 12. Trying to creep back into the picture. Oh, Newman making contact with Gordon off turn 4. It might have been 3 wide with Newman in the middle and the Hendrick cars trying to split him. Gordon not a contender for the most laps led like Johnson and Martin are unless he dominates to the finish if he can get to the lead here. Jeff Gordon now in contention for his 3rd career Daytona 500. A lot of bottom left open. Johnson got into the left rear of Martin, but it was after Martin got into the wall. And Gordon's going to get to the lead. With 66 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Gordon out for the 3rd different time in front of the field. Johnson and Martin not as cohesive of a unit during this green flag run. I should say this fuel run specifically compared to the prior fuel run. Johnson to the bottom. Martin not going to block him on the inside. He went to the top just because he wanted to make sure he was going to be up there. He's going to let Johnson go, and he's going to try to draft behind him again. As he's done for most of the race. Only 1.1 seconds off the lead. Gordon drafting with some lap cars. Although it could be holding them up at the same time. .27 laps during this fuel run so far for Martin. Go to the far chase cam for the rest of this run. Leading into green flag pit stops Still have one more field pass yet to get through today as well. Laps are clicking away. Longest green flag run, over 80 laps so far during this current green flag run. Martin going to be a little bit more aggressive with the bump drafting now on the back straightaway of Jimmy Johnson. Trying to pass him. Johnson's just not getting into the corner as good as he was earlier in the race. Maybe went the wrong way on an adjustment during that last stop, perhaps. It seemed like the 48 and the 6 were light years ahead of the rest of the field. Gordon caught him during this green flag run and kind of pulling away. Quarter of a tank of gas left for Martin at this point in the run. It just goes to show. And that alone goes to show what can happen in a full race. Constant swings of momentum. Who's fast on the long run, who isn't, changes so much. So you get through pit stops, you get through adjustment changes, get deeper into the race, more rubber on the racetrack, track changes, and so on. This crew hasn't made any adjustment changes, but they've gone aggressive with the pit strategy, taking 2 tires. It was fine when he was taking right sides only, but it's definitely tighter with the left sides, and that's caused him to make a couple of mistakes here. Martin got a bump draft. Jimmy Johnson on the back straightaway again. Getting into turns 3 and 4. Going to the bottom, there were some lap cars down on the inside that cleared Jeff Gordon, Jeff Green, and Ryan Newman. And they are holding Gordon up. Martin went to the bottom trying to draft off of the 12. 24 moves to the inside to draft with the 12 as well. Trying to get back around these guys. Johnson and Martin side drafting each other there in the tri-oval. Trying to break away to get to second, and Martin will get there. And he is clear of JJ. And it looks like Gordon cleared Ryan Newman off turn 2. Huge run for Martin getting into the corner. Newman staying wide out of the way this time. Johnson staying on the bottom, trying to stay with the 6. It was closing in on the 24. Well, Martin going to stick behind Jeff Gordon now. 60 laps to go in the Daytona 500. We're down to just 150 miles left, 350 in the books. And Mark Martin back to P2. Now it's Jeff Gordon in the 24 car leading the race. This is kind of funny, though, how that works, too, because these were the last 2 drivers that we had in our driver poll to see who I'd race as, based off of your guys' votes all week on the channel. Started off in those voting polls on Monday, and here we are on Friday. We had the final one earlier today, and for the Cup side, still going with the Busch and the Truck Series, so if you haven't voted, be sure to do so after the stream on the community tab on the channel. Martin being patient here as we're getting close to green flag pit stops. Some cars have already pitted. Got Kenseth, who was in the top 10, cycling off of pit lane. He was in 7th. Bump drafting Gordon, Dale Jr. in the 8 car. Trying to get up to speed down on the bottom of the track as the leaders get by to the outside. Jimmy Johnson starting to lose Gordon and Martin rather just a little bit. Martin scraping the wall off turn 4. Dale Jr. trying to stay in the draft with the top 2. It's the first car lap down if we were to get a caution right now in the middle of green flag stops. Only 1 crash today in the Daytona 500, a 3-car wreck off turn 4, but that's been it so far. And Jimmy Johnson, I believe, pitted that last time by as well. Gordon bump drafting. Or getting bump drafted, I should say, by Mark Martin. Martin pulling to the bottom. On Gordon, he's going to stay out this time by. He'll pit the next lap at lap 144 with 57 laps to go. It'll be 2 tires again, but it'll be right sides only this time. That worked out a lot better handling-wise for Mark Martin than the left sides. Bump draft getting into turn 1 on Gordon again there. Do it again down the back. There is Johnson. I guess he pitted a lap after what I thought. He's getting up to speed. He'll stay on the lead lap. Biffle into the pits. Mark Martin on his way in. Coming in kind of hot, but he gets it slowed up in time, and he is on pit road. Right side tires only. No damage to repair here for Martin. Looking for a quick stop. Spicker's been pretty good all day today. And the penultimate pit stop of the race. We'll have the last one with around 20 to go. The rate we're running at, maybe a little more than that. And Martin's going to have plenty of room here trying to get up to speed. Staying on the outside real quick to let Dave Blaney in. Jeff Gordon still staying on the track. With that 2-tire stop, I'll lock the tires up a little bit more. Almost intentionally, though, that time, knowing that it wasn't really costing him tire-wise during the run. This is a bumpy Daytona surface where tires matter, but Martin's been making the most of the 2-tire stops all day. It's working for him. And this should cycle him back to the race lead again once Gordon hits pit road. We will alternate through the different camera angles for the final time in today's race. Top 4 all stayed out of the pits again that last time. Martin going down trying to get a little extra draft off the 14 of Sterling Marlin, who's trying to get up to speed. Jeff Gordon is now pitting from the lead. Who will cycle out in front? Will it be the 24 who was leading at the start of green flag pit stops, or will it be the 6 of Mark Martin who took 2 tires again? You would have to imagine it'd be Mark Martin. I think the big question is who will be in second, Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson. Johnson did cycle out of the pits with a quick stop in front of Gordon. Didn't even go a lap down with his 4-tire stop. Contact up there with the wall for Martin. Getting into the first turn. Third turn, rather. Can't be doing that. I mentioned it was going to be close. We'll be fairly close. And there's Gordon down on the bottom. So Biffle back to the lead in the Daytona 500. Or, sorry, not Biffle. Mark Martin back to the lead in the Daytona 500. Probably be a little bit before he gets back up here again. '24 and the 48 will catch Mark Martin over this fuel run once again. Lack of Martin's single car speed and slightly older left side tires. And this is where the fatigue could set in these longer races on these NASCAR games as you get 150 out of 200 laps in. But honestly, that's not even a factor for me anymore. I'm so many, couple years into doing this. Doesn't bother me at all. Still got a lap car between the leaders of Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin. It's Sterling Marlin in the 14. He's down on the bottom of the racetrack out of car, trying to get up to speed coming out of the pits. That'd be the 2 of Kurt Busch. Mark Martin, former teammate. Martin stayed in front of Gordon. There's Kurt. Outside of the racetrack. Martin to the inside in the tri-oval. Had a big run on him. Gets around him cleanly. He was involved in that first wreck back with McMurray and Marlin earlier. A lot of damage on the 2. It looks like his good. His hood and front bumper are gone also, potentially. Him and Marlin missing a front bumper. Biffle's still chasing Jimmy Johnson for the most laps led. He may be a few laps ahead of him in the most laps led category. Tough to tell for sure. 50 laps to go. It's got to be close, though. So he's a little bit more aggressive trying to hold on to the lead this time on Jeff Gordon. Because of that, Gordon will get to the outside, though, off turn 4 that time. Martin, excuse me, I've made that mistake a couple times now. Apologize. But Mark Martin did lead that lap at the start-finish line over Gordon. And Gordon gets by. Martin tried to side draft at the last second, but it was too late. Gave up the lead. Jeff Gordon out in front. Mark Martin will sit behind him. Trying to keep these 2 ahead of Jimmy Johnson is the plan. So now that Mark Martin has lost the lead, he'll be patient behind the 24 once again. Sure, we'll see some cars hit pit road when the fuel window opens up to the end of the race. I say that because we're probably about 10 or 15 laps away from that happening. One time we were back in traffic after that first caution. Had a couple yellows right after that. Missed the debris. Narrowly missed it the first time. Fell off right in front of us. Second time it was behind us, but missed it either way. So nowhere close on track to where the wreck took place. Haven't had the big one. It was just that 3-car crash, and that's been it. This green flag run has lasted over 100 laps. It has been a while since the last caution. They're side by side for the lead again on the back straightaway as Martin gets to the inside of Gordon. He wasn't really trying to take the lead away from him, though. Oh, a lot of smoke off turn 4 up ahead. A lot of it. Probably more than I've ever seen. I was kind of scared there's going to be somebody there. Caution! Unbelievable! 46 laps to go, and we have our first caution in over 100 laps And this will bunch the field back together, and it's the Chip Ganassi Dodgers who get together of Reed Sorensen and David Stremme. Couple of rookies getting together. Teammates and rookies making contact. They were both a lap down. Stremme actually 2 laps down, and that is the 4th yellow of the day. I think they're just outside the fuel window still to make it to the end. This is where things get interesting now. What will the race be like to the checker? Oh boy. And can Mark Martin get the good restart? Because he has not been good on restarts today. Green flag back in the air. 42 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Slight contact with Robbie Gordon. That's going to stall Mark Martin out on this restart immediately. That was not good either. In contact with a couple lap cars now. Gordon pulling away. Dale Jr. to second. Martin trying to hang on to third now. 3 wide behind him. And Tony Stewart, who's been nowhere in the picture all race, is now up here in the top 5. Junior stuck behind the lap cars. Gordon pulls away. Still 3 wide for 4th behind Mark Martin as they get up to speed into the tri-oval. Jeff Gordon leading the Daytona 500. That caution, not what Mark Martin needed. Not a great lead car in this draft, and it doesn't help he's got older tires, too, on the left side of his race car. 40 laps to go in the Great American Race this time by. Was this the final restart? Boy, the top 2, especially Jeff Gordon, getting way out ahead. Johnson trying to get back into the 4th place spot on Tony Stewart. Ethan and BJ Morgan, thanks for tuning into the stream. Martin gonna stay on the outside, getting into turns 1 and 2 here, hoping Johnson in the 48 gets around him, but also hoping Tony Stewart doesn't move down to the bottom. Behind JJ, he had a chance to, didn't. He stays behind Martin. Martin back to 4th. This is as far back in the running order he has been outside of green flag pit stops, during green flag stops, since a very long time in this race. Johnson and Martin get to Junior, and then when they get to Junior, can they get to Gordon? Plenty of time to do it. Martin losing 2 spots on the restart after about 2.5 laps. His Achilles heel. A good thing we haven't seen a lot of cautions today, that we've only had 4 of them. Nothing more than a 3-car wreck. Johnson and Martin quickly get by the 2 lap cars on the bottom. There should be 1 more lap car in between Gordon and Earnhardt. Lap car behind Martin just got in the wall. That'll hold Tony Stewart up a little bit. Martin's got to stay close to the 48, making sure the 48 and the 8 don't work together to get away from the 6. Again, Mark Martin has older left side tires. He went right sides only during the green flag stop, as he's done every green flag stop today. We had that first pit stop under caution for him, so we took 4 tires then. 1.3 seconds off the lead as the 2nd through 4th place cars. Martin wants to try to break these Chevys up if he can. It's going to be tough, though. He's got to make sure he clears the 48, or he could end up losing the draft completely on these guys. Johnson trying to crowd. Dale Jr. stays towards the bottom. Initially thought about going high. Stays down low where Martin had the run, and Martin will get to 3rd as he passes Johnson. So he got 1 of those spots back after the restart. I believe Jeff Green is the lap car just up ahead yet. Martin wiggled a bit in the middle of the corner. Hangs on. Kept it off the wall. Kept his foot in it. And now it's Dale Jr. and Mark Martin trying to run down Jeff Gordon. I don't think Dale Jr.'s led a lap this whole race, even though he's been in the top 5 for a while. Things really got spaced out during those green flag stops. And with 37 to go, It is very well possible that we could see some drivers short pitting really any given lap here. 3 leaders get by Jeff Green and Jeff Gordon in the 24 still out in front. Speaking of 24, we have 24 people currently watching, 25 likes on the stream. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get closer to the finish of today's NASCAR 07 Daytona 500. Seven-tenths of a second off the lead is Mark Martindale Jr. Martin lifting, try not to bump draft Jr. that late going into the corner. Ran out of straightaway. Martin staying glued behind the 8 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jeff Gordon on the outside. Dropping to the bottom. Earnhardt kind of going towards that middle. Martin has to follow to stay in the draft. Johnson still not too far behind in 4th. 35 laps to go at the line. Half a second now off the lead. Junior going to the top in 1 and 2. Martin has to follow. Has a run on Earnhardt. He's going for second. Gets crowded on the back straightaway. Junior drafting behind Gordon. Gordon moves to the bottom now into turns 3 and 4. That's going to help Martin clear the 8 for second place. Gordon almost in the wall off 4. Same goes for Dale Jr. 34 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Martin back into second. And he'll sit here behind Jeff, just as he was before that caution. And he'll try to get away from the rest of the field. We are over halfway through this second to last fuel run. Everybody has to pit one more time yet. Couldn't make it on fuel from that last caution. We restarted with about 42 to go. And nobody pitted during the yellow either, knowing we couldn't make it on fuel to the very end. Gordon leading a lot of laps, but I still think Johnson and Martin are the two battling for the most laps led. Martin trying to stay in contention. Gordon really close to that wall. Forced Martin into a mistake there. Martin trying to stay in it, though. Didn't lose too much ground. Stays with Gordon. They're not really pulling too far away from Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. And the final set of green flag pit stops is going to dictate the finish of this race, potentially, of who's going to cycle the lead. But then, can that said driver keep it, though, to the very end? Can have a mistake on pit road. But the field now much closer together than what they've been for over half the race. Left front starting to go away on Martin's car. It's going to be asking a lot out of the left side tires. I may go fuel only to the end. Trying to get ourselves an even bigger gap on Jeff Gordon. Personally, don't think it's a terrible move. 31 laps to go. Honestly, what I'm thinking about doing is short pitting. With going fuel only, I won't have to worry about going a lap down. And I know I won't have any drafting help, but Martin's been fast when we've been driving as the AI. We have one more driver swap yet to get through for the end of the race. So I'll probably short pit and then use it then. Let Mark kind of keep his distance on everybody else. And when we transfer back, we'll just try to hold on to the finish. Gordon more than likely going to stay out a lot longer than everybody else. Haven't seen anybody short pit yet either. Pulls it in on somebody who may be a little slow down on the apron of the racetrack. I don't think they have an engine failure because they're not closing that quick, but definitely a car that's off the pace. Dale Jr. Jimmy Johnson have now lost Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, and it is Ryan Newman. Second time he's been that slow on the track in today's event. 29 laps to go. There's a little tag into the wall. That wasn't great for Martin. Martin staying out of the pits this time. Run the risk of hitting the wall running on this outside as close as Gordon has been to the wall the last few laps. He's moved up even higher. I didn't even think it was possible. But he definitely has. Martin to the bottom of the racetrack this time. Gordon trying to block. Gives Mark a little room. Martin is pitting this time. It'll be fuel only, trying to get to the end of the race. Gonna take just enough to top off. Got to make sure he doesn't speed. He did not. Good pit road entry. And again, fuel only for Mark Martin here. Half tank is all he needs to make it to the end, because that will top it off, which will be plenty. Topping it off with about 27 to go. They get the can in. It's going to be a clean stop. Perfect for Martin on pit road all day. And we'll have the track clear to be able to pull back up onto the track as well as he gets up to speed. Leader's going to have a little bit longer yet. Comes the 19 car of Jeremy Mayfield. Behind Martin pretty quickly. And that will be a little bit of drafting help here for Martin. Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Petty also behind. A lot of smoke off turn 4 from that last lap. We do stay green though. And we will swap to Matt Kenseth in the 17 car as we go through our final driver swap of the race. We have some cars pitting this time as well. Kenseth on the outside. He is in the top 5 now. Battling Tony Stewart, in fact, for 4th. Dale Jr. just pitted from 2nd. Dale Jarrett, I believe, is a lap down. Actually, yeah, Dale Jarrett's a lap down. Oof. Actually, no. Dale Jarrett and Tony Stewart are both a lap down, I believe. Kenseth undercutting on Stewart. Yeah, 17 and 20 not on the same lap. I think Stewart's a lap down. Might have been one of the drivers that got trapped a lap down very early in the race. I don't think he was slow enough Like slight contact that time between Kenseth and, or sorry, not Kenseth, but Tony Stewart and Jeff Green. It'd be cool if we can get Matt Kenseth 5 bonus points for leading the lap, because Mark Martin is still the only Roush car to lead today. Gordon leaves, so Dale Jarrett would actually be in second as we run. Kenseth's going to bump draft him on the back straightaway. Gordon going to stay out of the pits this time. A little contact off turn 4. Kenseth and Jarrett got together. A little too quick of a closing rate for Kenseth that time behind the 88. Bit of a power slide. And he was able to hold on, luckily. Gonna let Tony Stewart get underneath him. Greg Biffle, that 16 car closing in. Been a long time coming for Kenseth from 42nd starting position in this Daytona 500. Blew an engine. The only driver to blow an engine in dual race number 2, so he finished last. Greg Biffle coming in this time. Actually, he is in the pits. Jeff Green was that car behind Matt Kenseth, not Greg Biffle. Biffle is in the pits, though. We'll swap to Greg Biffle at the start-finish line next lap. And Mark Martin should be the leader when everything cycles through. Needs it to cycle through. There's Biffle coming out of the pits. Kenseth to the inside of Tony Stewart. Oh, contact with Dale Jarrett getting into 3 as he body slams his way. And he's still in 3rd, so Jarrett was a lap down too. He wasn't even 4th position that whole time. We'll smoke off turn 4 though. We stay green. Seen a lot of that today. The 2 wrecks we've had today were off of turn 4. So we know Biffle's already pitted. Therefore he is a lap down. He took 4 tires. 22 laps to go in the Daytona 500. So approximately with 18 laps to go, we'll swap back to Mark Martin for the rest of this race. If we might lose Casey Kane. Kane really pulled away from him. I'm not sure if Casey's pitted or not yet, though. Jeff Gordon's staying out another lap. Matt Kenseth is in the pits. I think McMurray is the last Roush car that still has to hit pit road yet. Getting just a tiny bit of a draft off Casey Mears, blows around him. That's a spot up to 13th. $20 laps to go in the Daytona 500, this time by 19 really for Jeff Gordon, but he still has to pit. Very few leaders still have to hit pit road. They're just looking for a caution to trap a ton of cars a lap down. We'd have less than the top 10 on the lead lap if that caution came out now. We know Martin would still be on the lead lap and would probably be the leader. But knowing how bad he's been on restarts with that restart gear all race long, even in the dual race, made an adjustment change. He got slightly better, but still not great at all. Getting up to speed on the restarts. Just takes him too long to get going. Slow car down on the apron of the track. And that would be Kurt Busch in the 2. Casey Kane's coming in. There'll be a spot for Biffle the next time by. should be. Here's to the inside of Biffle for a position. Still waiting on Jeff Gordon to hit pit road. And we'll go to Mark Martin for the rest of this race. Mark went with fuel only. Should cycle back to the lead on Gordon. And Gordon may be pitting this time. Waiting on the top two yet to hit pit road. Gordon does not pit this time, but I do believe second place might be on their way in. And Gordon really going a long time. Will we stay green to the finish of this race also? You know, honestly, caution would hurt Gordon at the same time because he'd probably restart further back than second, which is where he'd more than likely be following green flag stops. We don't have fresher tires on the restart to get him back, but he wouldn't have too many cars to pass either, but he'd still put himself behind where he'd be in second. Unless he thinks he can lead the most laps. I mean, that's the only other thing I can think of. He's coming in this time, though. Busch on the bottom of the track again. Tough race for him. Didn't do so hot in his duel, I don't think, either. Gordon is on pit road. I do believe second place is in the pits as well. And Mark Martin should be the leader. It's going to be all about defense to the end of this race. It's a close battle for the most laps led between Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson. Now, Gordon led this last lap on pit road, so Martin wouldn't officially get the lead till the next time by. But Gordon's still in his pit box. I should say he's leaving pit road right now as Martin is just getting to the start-finish line, but Mark will easily cycle ahead of him. 15 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Can Mark Martin finally win the 500? And I guess the no drafting help could have hurt Mark a little bit because Jeff Gordon is on the bottom of the track right there trying to get up to speed. Martin will easily get around him. So there it is. Short pitting will get Mark Martin out in front of the Daytona 500, and now there's no looking back from here. It is going to be a race to the finish. But right now it's the 6 and the 24. Martin will not be content with riding in line behind Gordon anymore. 14 to go. Lead change officially at the line for the 6. Back in the lead in the Daytona 500. I believe the 7th different time here tonight. Perhaps the best chance Mark Martin's ever had at a Daytona 500 win. And my best chance on a NASCAR EA Sports game, honestly. Trying to break our 0 for 6 drought in attempt number 7, hoping it will be enough. Now, Gordon doesn't have any drafting up behind him, so it's going to be tough for him to get a run to get around Martin. That's why it was so crucial for Martin to short pit there, get around him with the fuel-only stop, and it worked out to perfection. I was hoping to have a little bit bigger of a gap, but he was going to have to play defense anyway to the end of the race. He's going to have to do it for a few extra laps than what he was expecting. He was hoping to really only have to do it for about 10, 11 laps. Instead, it's about 13, 14. He wants to lead every lap, too, to the end. He wants to be the leader in case a caution comes out, because if he's in second, he didn't get to the lead the last time, he lost 2 spots. And he may lose spots if he's the leader, but if he's the leader, though, he's going to have a better chance at trying to play defense. You would think. I mean, he could be a sitting duck either way. Jimmy Johnson or anybody else. Dale Jr. was actually the car in third going into the green flag pit stop, so maybe Jr.'s got a shot. Trying to go for his second career Daytona 500 win up to the 06 season. Only won in 04. He would later win in 2014. Probably pass Kurt Busch one more time. At least he's staying out of the way. You wonder, is Jeff Gordon maybe being the patient one now? Big block by Martin. Gordon is there. He tried, but it was just too much. And Jeff Gordon will take the lead with 11 to go in the Daytona 500. Martin tried to block. It was just too late. He's going to try to get him back, though, into turns 1 and 2. Slingshot move, and Martin's back in the lead. Ren Dial, thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a drag race to the end here. It's going to be a show. We had a great finish at the end of the duel race between Mark Martin and Kevin Harvick. Harvick got the win. He's been non-existent for a while. I almost even wonder if he's still in the race. I haven't seen him in forever. Led a lot of laps at the very beginning. I think he has less laps total than Gordon, Martin, and Johnson. I would assume Gordon's got the third most behind the 6 and the 48. Unaware who has it between the 48 and the 6. 10 laps to go for Mark Martin to win his first Daytona 500. Try not to go for 7. Dale Jr. is closing in third. And Dale Jr. has not led a single lap all day. Pied Piper at Daytona is working his way through the field. Big block by Martin on the backstretch on Gordon. The runs are going to be much bigger when Dale Jr. gets into the picture here. They've already been big single car at the 24 and the 6. How fast they both are in the draft. But they were able to get around each other back and forth that one time. 9 laps to go. Junior is there. Will Jimmy Johnson have a chance to catch up? And maybe even Matt Kenseth, Dale Jarrett. We're back there around 5th and 6th leading into the pit stops. And it does look as if there may be lap cars that the leaders are closing in on. That's going to be interesting too. About 4 lap cars up ahead. I didn't think lap traffic was going to be an issue to the end of the race, but it may be. Gordon and Earnhardt side by side for second off turn 4. 8 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Junior, not enough of a run. That's the thing, though, with 3 cars. 2 of them are going to be in one lane and 1 in the other, unless they somehow go in 3 separate lanes, which isn't impossible. Junior trying to get there to the outside. Gordon staying behind the 6 for now. It's going to help Mark Martin stay in front as they get into turns 3 and 4. He chose not to make the block that time. It worked out. Earnhardt's got a little better run, though, in the middle of the corner. Martin tries to block. It's just not enough, and Earnhardt gets to the outside. Dale Jr., who hasn't led all day, to the start-finish line this time, leads his first lap by inches. 5 bonus points for Dale Jr. His first lap lead comes with 7 laps to go. And I think his teammate, Paul Menard, is one of the drivers that they're closing in on. Martin went high to block Earnhardt. Here comes Gordon to the inside for second. Almost making contact off turn 2. Martin bobbing and weaving through the bumps off the exit of the corner. Holds on to the lead still. He's got older tires, especially those left sides. He hasn't changed those in the last 2 stops. We're on this old and bumpy, worn-out Daytona surface, but he's holding on to it. Gordon and Earnhardt just can't break their side-by-side battle. 5, maybe make that 6 laps to go. 6 laps left. In the first lap car, Paul Menard. may get in the way here. He'll stay to the outside as they get into turns 1 and 2. Dale Jr. up there with his teammate Gordon up to block the 8. He's clear, but now the 8 might use the 24, or use his teammate, I should say, the 15 as a pick. So teamwork there for DEI. Dale Jr., Paul Menard. That Earnhardt's going to get the second, getting by Jeff Gordon. Using Menard as a pick. Gordon kind of picked himself. He moved up too early. Slight bobble in the middle of the corner now by Martin, and Dale Jr.'s back out in front as he shuts the door off turn 4. Kind of cleared himself. Oh, hooked himself into the wall. 5 to go. But now Reed Sorensen in the 41 may get in the way of Earnhardt. Martin had a massive run going into the corner. He uses the 41 as a pick to get to the lead. No manufacturer alliance there, but just using the slower car to his advantage. Gordon will get back to second following Martin's momentum he had on the bottom. Here comes Gordon. 3-car battle for the Daytona 500. 4 to go this time by. If I remember correctly in this game, I think you get 1 attempt at a green white checker finish. Martin clipped the apron. He kept it off the wall, stayed in the gas, so he's going to keep his momentum up, but Gordon's now going to get to the lead. Earnhardt to second and Martin to third. Still 4 to go. And no cautions again on the final lap if we do get to the white flag. Earnhardt going wide. Martin trying to draft off Gordon. Gordon slipping away. Earnhardt getting a run off the outside lane. So is Mark Martin. Martin going to go for second on the backstretch. Jeff Gordon down to block going into 3 at the last second. He clears Martin. Martin to second as he gets by Dale Jr. Jr. going to run the top. No draft up there for him. 2 more lap cars that the leaders are closing in on. 3 to go. Martin's got to run. To the outside. Side drafts Gordon. Into the corner they go. As they close in on the lap cars that are side by side. Gordon getting a draft off of Jeremy Mayfield though. And he pulled away with that draft he got off the lap cars. Gaps Martin and Earnhardt by about 2 to 3 car lengths. Martin trying to reel him back in into 3 and 4. Junior losing ground. Gordon to the inside. Off of turn 4. Trying to pick Gordon behind Newman, but there's no drafting help for Mark Martin. 2 to go in the Daytona 500. A run by Martin into turn 1. Gets underneath Jeff Gordon. Oh, there's contact. Gordon and Newman get together. Oh, they made contact and Martin slips by as he leads off turn 2. Gordon was trying not to get picked. Lap car staying high. The lead lap cars to the bottom. Junior actually going to the outside behind Ryan Newman. Gordon up will clear the 12 as he gets to the outside. And he'll get to the outside of Martin as they come to the white flag. Final lap of the race. 2.5 miles to settle the score. Massive run for Mark Martin into turn 1. Clears Jeff Gordon and slides up as he tries to make a last lap pass for the win. He's clear. Earnhardt down on the bottom trying to get a run. He gets to the inside. There's slight contact made between the 8 and the 6. Junior drops back to third. Martin bounces off the wall on the back straightaway as he's trying to mirror drive on the 24 into 3 and 4. Will Gordon make it a race? He can't get alongside Mark Martin. And for the first time ever, Mark Martin will win the Daytona 500. Let's go. Unbelievable. I've won back-to-back at Daytona on EA Sports games. How does that happen? And for the first time ever, I've won the Daytona 500. on these classic EA Sports games. It took till NASCAR 07. It took 7 tries, but we finally got it done. Mark Martin with a last lap pass to win the 500, beating Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. Unbelievable. Made a little contact with Dale Jr. off of turn 2. I don't care. we won it, we won it, we won it. Oh my gosh, finally. And with Mark Martin of all drivers, it took each other to break our long winless streaks in the Daytona 500. We did it together. Man, that feels good. We have been trying so long. I mean, it's been like 2.5 years since that first 500 on a NASCAR EA Sports game on the channel, and 2.5 years later, we finally, I mean, it was a long time coming. Well, we finally got it done. We had a long time in between those 7 races, obviously. I mean, they were all probably like 4 or 5 months apart from each other, but we finally were able to snap it. I knew if I didn't snap it today, I was going to have to wait another few months before I get another attempt at it, but we got it. Unbelievable. Mark Martin has won the Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon ends up 2nd, Dale Jr. 3rd, Matt Kenseth 4th, Jimmy Johnson 5th, Dale Jarrett 6th, Casey Kane 7th, Greg Biffle 8th, Casey Mears 9th, and Michael Waltrip, the pole sitter, rounds out the top 10. I don't think he led a lap despite qualifying on the pole. Harvick led the first lap. Oh, wow. Look at the laps led. Jeff Gordon led the most laps by 1. Him taking the lead coming to the white flag was the difference. And him leading the most laps in that, because if Martin would have led that lap and the last lap, which he did, then Martin would have led by 1. I honestly didn't even think Jeff Gordon led that many laps in the race, but guess he did. Johnson was very close too, which I figured 57 laps led for him. So Jeff Gordon gets the most laps led, bonus point by 1 lap over Martin. That's crazy. I honestly didn't think he led that many laps. It didn't feel like he led that many. 3 hours, 6 minutes, and 8 seconds to get this race in today. 4 cautions rather. That was it. 36 lead changes. Margin of victory exactly 1/10 of a second. The average race speed 161.17 miles per hour. Mark Martin does it for Roush Fenway Racing. I honestly didn't even feel like we had 36 lead changes either. I don't know how many different leaders. Junior led 3 laps. Matt Kenseth didn't lead any. And Johnson led 57. Who else led? Brian Vickers led 1 lap probably during green flag pit stops. Jeremy Mayfield led 1 lap during green flag stops. Only 18 cars finished on the lead lap. Our other teammate, Jamie McMurray, finished in 13th, just outside the top 10. But he started deep in the field and wrecked, so good comeback nonetheless for Jamie Mack. Be interested to see what he'll do this season for our Roush Fenway team. Wow, Kyle Busch ended up... Oh, actually, that was Kurt Busch who was slow at the end, I think. So he ended up many laps down. DNFs, we had quite a few engine failures. J.J. Yaley DNF'd. Elliott Sadler led 1 lap during green flag stops. He DNF'd with an engine failure. Kyle Busch blew an engine in today's race. Kevin Harvick blew an engine, so that's why we didn't see him. He blew an engine right at the halfway mark, led 12 laps early in the going, and won the dual race earlier today as well. McGee DNF'd. Dover Monster DNF'd. Langford ended up DNFing, Zim DNF'd, and Bobby Labonte blew an engine. So we ended up with, what, 9 DNFs. 9 engine failures in today's race. Mark Martin wins the Daytona 500, and we get to see him in victory lane. Like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, more of Mark Martin's Revenge Tour series to come on NASCAR 07. Our second race will be at Kansas sometime next week. We'll have live commentary streams for you guys coming up over the next... we'll have live commentary streams coming over for the next couple days for you guys. Tomorrow, doubleheader. We'll go live. Truck Series live commentary at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the Xfinity Series live commentary stream tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have a break in between both the races as they get stuff going. So probably about an hour or hour and a half. Probably anywhere between a half hour to an hour break between the two streams, I'd have to imagine. But plan on going live, though, for 5 for the Xfinity race and the truck race again at 2 tomorrow. So appreciate it. Live commentary also for the Cup Series on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you guys for that. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We won the Daytona 500. Mark Martin won the Daytona 500 for the first time in his career, as did we. So spectacular, to say the least. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon.